I know, I can hear that. It's kind of ominous. Good morning, good morning. Hey, while everybody pops on, make sure you let me know if my audio's good, my picture's good. Facebook's been messing with my stuff. So, hopefully, this all records well and good, and we get all of this information out there so you guys can have the latest up-to-date info that we have. We are just outside of Galeana. We are heading towards Pijijiapan, which is still Chiapas. We have not left the state of Chiapas yet. And here with Oscar Blue. Good morning, Oscar Blue.
Hi, good morning.
Day 11 with the caravan, day 10 on the road. So when we say that, this is what that means. We got here on Friday the 21st, and there was a...
Am I okay with that?
You're perfect. And there was a prayer vigil, and we were there with them that day. And then we started walking on Saturday. So they have been walking for 10 days straight. A lot of people say they cannot believe these people are walking. We can assure you they are walking. I'll do my best to live stream as much as possible today. Hopefully the service is a little bit better. Juan, buenos dias. Good morning. So I'll do my best to get as much live streaming in as possible today so you guys can see. We're walking a little bit with them, but we're also driving so that we can get ahead of the group and then document them as they arrive. They have not been getting on buses. There have been some that have quote unquote hitched a ride. We have seen some, families, some people with strollers, some people with wheelchairs in the backs of vehicles and things like that. Now that is illegal. That was outlawed in 2019 after the caravan moved through and was transported by vehicles because, and some people were asking about that, and a big reason why is because, good morning, buenos dias. A lot of people were asking about that because it really kind of encouraged and enabled smuggling, right? So if you're allowing the migrants to get in vehicles and be transported, then that also opens the door for human smuggling, things like that, and it exacerbated that situation. So the president outlawed it nationally that the migrants, can't be transported like that. So that's why they are walking, and that has been newer. And a lot of these people, when they signed up for this caravan, they legitimately said that they thought it would be easier, that some help would come and that the situation would be a little bit easier for them. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Let me flip the camera around this morning. Chidera, good morning. Buenos dias. How are you? Good. So Chidera is one of the gentlemen that we talked to from West Africa very early on, who explained his experience in the Darien Gap and things like that. So we have been keeping up with folks, and I try my best to remember names because they are human beings, whether they're doing something illegal or not. A lot of them do have legitimate asylum claims, and a lot of them are economic migrants. So, again, it's never going to be my job to judge. You guys can formulate your own opinions from what you're seeing. But are we good now? Is the video okay? Someone said it froze. So today, yesterday we reported that we were around a little over 3,000, but we talked with Hermenegildo Mujica, who is one of the caravan leaders, and he said, it feels bigger, and it does. It kind of has fluctuated. There's been families that have kind of held back and rested for a day and then caught up with the caravan, things like that. So that's a very real reality, that these numbers have been fluctuating a little bit. Today, we all agree that it feels bigger. It feels bigger today, so we're working to get those updated numbers for you guys. I'm coming next to you. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys just kind of watch a little bit here. Are you live right now too, Oscar? Why is your screen like that? Oh, that's your light. Ah, Oscar's brilliant. Okay, thank you guys for keeping me posted on the video status, because it's kind of wild. Let's see. Ooh, I got a little flash too. Good morning, good morning. Some people say this is appearance, and you're not wrong. It is, because these people were down in Tapachula for some of them months. There were 90,000 asylum claims in Tapachula, and we believe some of those people were the 30,000 Haitian migrants.
Can you come over here?
Yep.
Just hold this right here for a minute.
Uh-huh.
We'll turn around and point the light to the caravan so we can see the caravan
Oh,
coming.
absolutely. Okay, Oscar's going to move his car so that we can actually not only give them some light, but so that you can see as well, because it's really dark, as you can see, and they're walking through this. Like, they don't have lights either, so we're going to move our car so that they can see a little bit more too, of where they're going. So so a lot of people were saying, you know, that this is the parents, and it is. Again, they were down in paperwork. A lot of them had already filed asylum claims and things like that, and they felt like they were, quote, prisoners in Tapachula. Buenos dias, good morning. And, you know, so they thought that this was their option, which, if you're watching and you're seeing them go through this, and you're seeing these little babies, and you're seeing these people like that, it's hard to believe that that's the option, right? But again, we can't judge, because I don't know. Well, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to judge, because I don't know. I only know what they tell me. And, you know, our administration has all but laid out the groundwork of what they need to really do and say when it comes to getting asylum in the U.S., right? I mean, that's not a secret either. We've heard Alejandro Mayorkas talk about it. So, you know, I even talked to one of the caravan leaders, and I said, you know, there's strategies and everything. And having this many kids and them knowing the situation and knowing what that looks like. Oscar, I'm going to be right here, so I know you can't feel me, but I'm holding onto the car, so I'm safe right here. I'm just updating Oscar on my status and stuff. Just, it's really, really dark out here. So there's Juan. Juan is one of the journalists that we're with. Good morning, good morning. He is a journalist down in Tapachula that's been covering immigration for quite a while. So he's kind of an expert on this, if you will. But again, you know, these families are taking it upon themselves to do this, right? And a lot of them, you know, if they're coming from West Africa or from Haiti or from Venezuela, a lot of them do have legitimate asylum claims. But again, a lot of them, it's not like it's 100%. Even if they are leaving from Venezuela, you only know what they tell you, right? And that's up to Border Patrol, that's up to an immigration judge and office to make those determinations, not mine. So I can only report what I know and what they tell me. You got some music? Good morning. You know, and some people are saying that, you know, some people have commented that I'm encouraging this, things like that. I mean, if you guys have been following me for even a couple days, you guys know that I'm not going to treat people disrespectfully no matter what, because I don't know their situations. But I do know the ones that are economic migrants. You know, what's really unfortunate is they're doing this journey, and it's like an impossible journey to nowhere almost, right? Because if they're just an economic claim, they just want to go to the U.S. and work, by U.S. law, that's not asylum. They're not escaping persecution. They're not escaping, you know, corruption. They just want to work. Well, if that's their case, then they can work and live in Mexico, or they can work and live in another country. And so that doesn't qualify for asylum. And so some of the migrants I've talked to, and I'm like, do you think you're going to have a viable chance to get in, just, you know, knowing that you just have an economic claim? And they're like, what does that mean? And so it's really hard, because they're literally taking this journey, and it's like really difficult, you know, because they're asking for water, and they don't have water, and they don't have food. And that's what's, you know, a lot of people are like, how are they eating? How are they getting water? They don't have it. They don't. And it's hard as journalists, because we can't really help, because law enforcement will see that as assisting them to create or to break the law, because we will be helping them get to the next checkpoint. We'll be, quote, you know, aiding and abetting to a degree. A lot of them are covering their faces. I think it's because the light is shining right in their eyes. I don't know if it's because they don't want to be on camera. Oscar, I think our light's actually bad. I think it's shining right in their face. They're all covering their, like, eyes. Do you think it's bad? What do you think? Thoughts? Are they covering their faces because they don't want to be on camera, or because the light? I think it's, I'm not sure. We're trying to help, not hurt, so we're trying to see it. They don't have water.
No, ya no.
That's good. That's better. Yeah. Yeah, great. Okay, so okay. So I'm gonna try to stay live as long as allow me to stay live, because a lot of people are still not believing that they are actually doing all of this walking. Per yesterday, I believe we walked about 75 miles in we'd walked about 75 miles in 10 days, basically. 2 of those days were pretty much full days of rest. They took 2 days off, basically, so that they could continue this journey. And Ireneo Mujica telling me, you know, in the past, border agents have legitimately had a strategy to wear out the caravans and then to kind of come on the backside of the caravan and for lack of a better phrase, pluck people out of the caravan and apprehend them. Because when they're tired, they're vulnerable, right? So he said that's not going to work this time because we're resting. We're taking time. We are, you know, taking it slow. We're taking it easy. So they've kind of reformulated their strategy as well. Now, the other thing that's a different strategy in this caravan has been the women and children. Half of this caravan has been women and children. That has not changed. The number has fluctuated a little bit. I'm working to get you guys updated numbers, but as far as the amount of people, it is half women and children. There's no doubt about that. They're calling this the March of the Children for a reason. There are so many kids here. It is hard to see. It is hard to wrap your head around. It is maddening. It's not good. Now, in the past, when they've had women and children involved in the caravans, they've had them in the back because they didn't want confrontation to impact them. They didn't want, when they encountered law enforcement and confrontation could break out, you know, where they were trying to stop them, they didn't want the women and children hurt. Well, the strategy has shifted in this way, and this is how I'll explain it. They now have women peppered all throughout the caravan, and law enforcement won't get involved because they can't hurt women and children, right? So strategy shifts when things aren't, it's the definition of insanity would be continuing doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So they've shifted the way that they're doing things a little bit. You see this guy with a walking stick with his ankle wrapped. So we definitely have people that are feeling this walk for sure. Buenos dias. Let's see. Okay. So their goal is still to go to Mexico City. However, the majority of them don't intend on staying and living in Mexico and working in Mexico. They have every intention of pursuing the U.S. border and the American dream, so to speak, is what they say. So they will, once they get to Mexico City, a lot of them will attempt to continue on. A lot of people are asking, are they even going to make it? Are they going to get to Mexico City? Well, they have to get through the state of Chiapas, which is a border state, and so it's very, very strict for immigration and very strict for that kind of stuff, for immigration and for immigration and apprehensions. They have checkpoints everywhere, and we'll try to show you guys that as well. But they are very, very strict, and so if what they say, and I didn't understand this when I first got down there. They said once they get out of Chiapas, they're gone, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, they just scatter? Like, what happens? Well, the reason they say once they get through the state of Chiapas, they're gone, is because they don't have as many checkpoints that they have to clear, so they could get on buses or cars or, you know, things like that. Now, will that happen? I don't know. Is it likely? Absolutely. So from there, when they get to Mexico City, if they go to Mexico City, because they don't necessarily have a reason to go to Mexico City if that's not their intention, I believe that there will be some that go to Mexico City, but it will not be the vast majority. And so then those folks, if they get on a bus or whatever, and they get distributed amongst the U.S. border, they will face opposition. We know Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has expanded Operation Lone Star. He does in fact have Texas DPS stationed you just saw that guy collapse, right? Like, wow. He does have Texas DPS stationed all along the U.S. border. So that's a very real reality for these folks. I have asked Oscar to help me with some questions today because I have those questions. Buenos dias. ¿Cómo está? Good. Buenos dias. And so I would like to know what, a lot of them didn't even know about the cartel. So I am curious to know if they know what's happening at the border. I have asked that in the beginning, but now things have even transpired a little bit more for law enforcement in Texas. So I am interested in knowing some of those things. So we'll be asking some of those questions. This is another journalist group here, another network. So I am interested in knowing that, like, if they know that they will be arrested for trespassing and not just turned back, will they continue their pursuit, or will they be content staying and working and living in Mexico? So we'll be working to get some of those answers today. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I would love to try my best to answer anything I haven't answered. We have some time to chat and answer some questions. We are about 635 miles, I believe, from Mexico City. So still a really good jaunt. We've only gone about 75 miles in 10 days. So, their protection claim doesn't cover them forever. It has an expiration date. So they have, I believe it's 3 weeks to get there. So, of course, we're going to be here with them as long as we possibly can. But so someone says if they have decent shoes, that's not a hard pace. So the issue is it's really hot, humid. And, and that's normal for this area. But to walk uphill and with babies and with kids, we see women walking and breastfeeding. So, they're walking about 10 miles a day. And the reason they're stopping frequently, as I mentioned, is the strategy in the past has been for law enforcement to kind of tire them out. So Irineo Mujica has them resting a lot more often so that, they can continue on. And also so that they don't get sicker. We know that in Mapastepec, there was a lot of sick kids. There was like 100 sick kids at least. Luis Villagran had transported several kids to the hospital. At one point, he had 18 kids and their moms in the vehicle with them and taking them to the hospital. So it's really, really interesting. Someone's saying, is the caravan disclosing their position? I don't know what that means, like position as far as where they want to go. I'm not sure what that means. If someone wants to clarify that question, I'll do my best to answer. Okay, so people are asking, do they have COVID? So in Tapachula, when they were there in that camp that was set up, we have now talked to several migrant families who have said they were vaccinated in Tapachula. It was not mandated, it was offered. So, I don't know if every single one of them was vaccinated because it wasn't required, but they did go to Tapachula, and by they, health officials in the government of Mexico did offer the COVID vaccine, and families we have talked to are vaccinated. So that is the case in Tapachula. A lot of the migrants were vaccinated. So that's what I know right now as far as COVID. Other illnesses, I'm not sure specifically what they might be, but we know the kids have been dehydrated. We know dehydration is very real. And we know that fever and exhaustion are very real. But as far as specific illnesses or diseases, we don't have that information because if they're getting taken to the hospital, they're leaving the caravan. So I'm not really sure what other things might be out here. But as far as COVID, that has not been something that has been very visibly rampant. So, I will, again, continue to watch. and continue to have my ear to the ground on those questions about illnesses and things like that. But again, a lot of them had been vaccinated in Tapachula. As far as what are they eating, what are they drinking, when we stop in certain places, if it's a municipal city, sometimes a municipal city will provide water. Yesterday, there was a nonprofit group that was handing out water to only women and children, to the children mostly. So they don't have, wild access to food and water. A lot of people are saying they look clean, they're being helped, this is being paid for. So remember, when we left Tapachula, they were being cared for by NGOs, and they were in kind of sheltered areas, and they did have clothing. And then when they signed up for this caravan, there's no turning back, right? We're 11 days in. They have the clothes that's with them, unless when we stop at a municipal city, those municipal cities or the nonprofits there assist them. I mean, it's like you can't send them stuff. They're traveling. Every day we're on the move, so it's pretty hard to send them things. Local governments are helping out in Mexico, because you can't just have people like die out here, right? This is happening. They have a protection claim over them, a federal protection claim. So you can't not do anything. But the help is very minimal. Now, we have seen more strollers. That is interesting. But again, we've stopped in cities. We know that some of them have family in the States. We know that some of them have family in Mexico. They do have, Western unions and things in these cities. How are they charging their phones? People have asked that question. They find some kind of electrical source, whether it's at a business, outside of a business, a power pole, whatever it might be, if it has an electrical outlet. And some of the migrants have a surge protector with them, and then we'll charge 10 pesos an hour, which is about 50 cents an hour. Now, some people commented, oh, wow, so, you can charge your phone, but you cannot feed your family. A lot of them, their phone is their lifeline. It's their only way to get money from family members or to get contact. So that is a priority for them, is to have their phone charged, for sure. And it's almost a priority more than food. It's wild. And that's the mentality. And again, I can't judge. That's their mentality, and that's what they're doing. But they are certainly paying to have their phone charged. And in Mapastepec, some people had their phones stolen. So, that was devastating for some folks, because again, that's their only lifeline. Okay, so someone says, I wish I could send money to the lady in the wheelchair to spend a night in a motel. I mean, that's tough, right? But I have asked them, how are you doing? And those two, the husband or the man pushing his mom in the wheelchair, those two people have been in such great spirits this entire time. I've even asked them, are you tired? And the woman says no. And I said, well, what about the man pushing you? And he says no. And what's fueling him is, they're from Honduras, and what's fueling him is his wife is in the States. So it's pretty crazy. I am going to hop in the car for a second, because I have bug spray in the car. And sorry that I'm going to pull a little bit of a diva moment, but I am getting attacked. Absolutely attacked. Sorry, you guys have to stare at Oscar's Red Bull for a second. I'm being just annihilated by bugs out here. I'm sorry. I should have done that. But wowzers. Okay. Oscar, do you want any bug spray? Do you want bug spray? All right. See, Oscar's a man. No bug spray for him. Oh, ay Dios mío. Okay. My Spanish is getting better by the day. I'm almost fluent. Just kidding. I can understand more now, but I still am not comfortable translating. All right. So let me flip this around for a minute. Hi. You get the very early version of Allie. Hi, how's everybody doing? Thank you guys for your continued support and encouragement. We're exhausted. We have been, the one thing is, we have been eating. We have been prioritizing, we have been prioritizing like life still, right? So we still will take a break and get food when appropriate and when we can, and we're drinking water, and because we are not partaking in illegal immigration, we are staying in hotels and able to shower, and we are exhausted at that. So, you know, in the human side of it, I can't imagine what they're going through. But again, this is a choice. I don't know if it is their only choice. I can't make that judgment, but some of them, that's what they believe. And, you know, when you have people that live in the States and that have made it already through and are living in the States, or you have, you know, an administration that appears to them to condone what they're doing, that's what they believe. And then I've asked several of them, what do you feel about what you're doing? Do you feel like it's illegal? And they're like, well, we're not hurting anybody, so like it's illegal, but it's legal. So it's very interesting to hear their mentality. And I've been using this phrase that they've been sold a bag of goods, and I do believe that, because why would you even attempt this with an economic asylum claim? But the thing is, they're family units, right? Are they legitimate families? I don't want to speculate, but even the caravan leaders are like, I mean, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but when you know it's easier to get into the US as a family unit or with children, what does that do? It's not great. That's tough, because that can perpetuate a abusive system, a cycle, right? So we want to believe that these families are legitimate, but here's the thing. I can tell you this. While I don't know if their DNA matches, the kids have been pretty settled with the families that they're with. They're not being passed around or you know, going family to family here. Obviously, let me flip this around as more people are coming. Obviously, when we get to the US border, that's going to look different. Who knows? But again, they've got to pay the cartel somehow to get across. And a lot of times the cartel use kids. And so right now, good morning, this could be legitimate. But then by the time they get to the US border, it'll be interesting. I am eager to get back to the US and greet whoever makes it across and see what kind of family units are together and see what, you know, what's going on. I think that's an important piece, obviously. Good morning. So I think that we will likely, I mean, we probably will leave for a couple of days and regroup, and then come back to Mexico City and meet them and see, are they getting on buses? Are they, you know, why aren't they staying if they aren't, and things like that. So, and then I will be on the U.S. side when and if this makes it through. But again, it started out in Tapachula on Saturday, the 22nd of October. We are now on November 2nd. We were with them on the 21st, which is why we're saying this is day 11. We still have well over 3,000 people now walking at least 75 miles, and they are walking. They have walked every mile. I mean, some of them have gotten on a flatbed truck for 2 miles or something, but they're walking. And you see the sun coming up out here, finally getting a little bit of daylight, a little dawn. And the night is always darkest before the dawn, isn't it, my friends? So they got up early, 4 a.m. Ireneo Mujica says if you're not up at 4 a.m., the Tapachula Express is going to be ready for you, which is you're going to get on a bus and go back to camp in Tapachula. And so that's the other thing is, you know, they've made it this far to them, and that they do not want to go back. They want to keep going forward. They're determined. You know, and it's really interesting to see the resourcefulness that they have and they use, and they have pieces of cardboard that they cut a hole out in so they can put around their head for shade if they don't have a hat. There's been a lot of really interesting things that I've learned and I've seen, and coming down here and witnessing it for myself is very different. This process is very different than by the time it gets up to the US. Things change dramatically by the day, and then when it comes to what they will face with the cartel and apprehensions, that's going to change dramatically as well. So, you know, things are going to be pretty fluid over the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds and transpires. But right now, I can tell you most of these folks that I've talked to are from Honduras, most of them. There are a lot from El Salvador, a few from Africa, from West Africa. They've got Nigeria and Ghana. There's a few Haitians here. Luis Villagrán had posted on his Facebook page that he believes that there are around 20 nationalities represented here. So, you know, we have talked to people from Cuba. We have talked to people from Pakistan. We have talked to people from, where else? Gosh, Nicaragua. There was a 20-year-old man here named Ricardo who is a barber. A lot of people were asking how they look clean shaven, they have haircuts. I will post a video of him shaving a man's face. He charges, again, commerce will always find a way, business always finds a way, people will always be people. And he was shaving the man's face with a straight razor, and it was really, really fascinating. And not that he was shaving the man's face with a straight razor, but that it was in the middle of basically a caravan overnight camp in Mapastepec, that he, you know, had draped the shirt over the mat. Like, it was just really interesting. And so I'll share that video for you guys. But he said that, you know, it depends. We asked him if he'd be willing to stay in Mexico. He said it depends on the opportunity. He said, but his dream is to get to the U.S. and open a barber shop. And so that's, you know, what he wants to do. He's a 20-year-old man, and that's his goal and his dream. So how many hours of sleep are they getting if they have to get up at 4 a.m.? Oh, you know, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, but they're sleeping outside and in the dark and with nothing and in the elements. So you see this man carrying something wrapped like in kind of a trash bag. So they'll lay down like a plastic surface on the ground, and then they'll lay on top of cardboard or lay on top of whatever. So honestly, like, how much sleep are they getting? I can't imagine that it's much. I can't imagine that they're sleeping much at all. Maybe a couple of hours. Maybe. Wow, this guy is. And straight up to say hi. I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this kind of be on for a little bit. So when some people have asked when we were talking, so another thing, the Venezuelan family that we were keeping up with, that we had talked to extensively, they quit the caravan. Their kids were sick. Good morning. They said they just could not continue. So they quit because their children weren't doing well. And, you know, those people do have, by our law in the U.S., they have pretty legitimate asylum claims. One of them was a police officer in Venezuela, and they were forcing him to work for the mafia, and he said no. He said, I'm not going to do that. So they threatened to kill him and his entire family, and he went back 4 times to rescue his family members, basically. And then they went through the Darien Gap. One of their wives was 2 months pregnant. She was raped, lost their baby. Really, really, really tragic. Really tragic. So they left the caravan. And so people asked why, and I even asked, why didn't they stay and fight for their country? And with the corruption in the government, with the military and the police departments being corrupt, they said it was impossible. How can you fight that? Now other countries like Honduras, El Salvador, things like that, yes, there is corruption. Yes, that is a problem. I will try to find out why they don't stay and fight for their country there. But most of those folks from those countries are going to be more of that economic asylum claim, which isn't asylum. They're what we call economic migrants, that they want to go and create a better life for themselves and their families. Okay, so while we continue to stream here live, does anybody else have any questions? Anything that I've not answered or touched on? I feel like we've been pretty extensive in our coverage here. 11 days with the same caravan. They, you know, look at us and they go, hey, you're still here. And they see that. and they notice that we're still here and haven't left. Oscar and I think we're the only ones that have been here the 11 days straight since the vigil, and Juan, Oscar and I are the OGs kind of. But I am the only American journalist here right now, to our knowledge. So we're getting the information out, my friends. So share if you feel compelled. Share if you want change, and whether that's you want a better life for these people and want better conditions, or whether that's you want a different immigration system or restructuring of that. Those things are never going to be anything that I can advocate for, because that means I have to pick a side. So if you guys feel strongly in either direction, share, tag congressmen, share the people that you want to hear this. Write them letters. Show people what's going on, because people still legitimately don't believe these people are walking. And I am trying. I know I have to gain your trust. I know that I have to gain some credibility here, because I'm fairly new to this crisis. But I have been covering this since August. And I have been doing research and trying to understand this extensively as well. So, I'm working on it. I appreciate your support and I appreciate your questions. So, when we talk about the stay in Mexico policy and things like that, that also creates a big issue for Mexico. So a couple of things that you guys need to understand about what Mexico is dealing with as well. None of these people are from Mexico, you guys. These people are immigrating into Mexico, most of them to get to the U.S. So even the Chamber of Commerce president of Acuña, which is a city that they crossed over into Del Rio from, he was like, man, they don't want to stay in Mexico. The U.S. basically invited them. So why are we dealing with this problem? So when we close the border and say, no, you stay in Mexico, they look at it as they're dealing with the ramifications of our actions. And here's the other thing. If you guys didn't know this, the border to Mexico has been closed for Mexico to go into the U.S., but it has not been closed for the U.S. to enter Mexico. So that has really been a slap in the face for the Mexican people, because they're like, so you guys are deemed essential to come into our country, but we aren't essential to come into yours. And so that's been really frustrating for them, because there's been families that have all been separated, because there are people that travel back and forth to work and live. And so some of those people that have, work permits to go across were able to and stuff like that. But I believe it's reopening to travel for some here. It either is today or, soon. So I'll look into that too. And so mainstream media saying the border is closed, and that's the other thing. Is I was talking to Ireneo Mujica yesterday, and I was like, what's wild is, there are 32 border sheriffs that go from San Diego to Brownsville, and they all say they can't sustain this. The ones I talked to specifically say the border's open. They just don't have the manpower, and they're not saying, some have said this has to stop, but they're not saying like, oh, this is an invasion. They're saying we need more manpower if this is going to continue. If our administration is going to allow this to continue, then they need help, right? They need resources and they need manpower. Well, we know that Governor Greg Abbott reached out to the Biden administration and requested a national federal emergency, because there is a state of emergency declared for Texas. Well, the Biden administration denied that federal state of emergency, which would have allocated more resources and more funding and National Guard members and things like that. So that's where it stands right now. That's the truth. So my daughter's a U.S. citizen and lives in Mexico and works as a nurse in the U.S. Yes, that is something that they have been able to do. So if they have document, right, number one, that they are a U.S. citizen, they're going to be able to travel back and forth a little bit easier. But if you're a Mexican national, you aren't able to cross if you don't have a viable work permit. So that's frustrating to them, because they feel like, oh, we don't benefit you, but you benefit us. And that's a pride thing, right? And that's also just very frustrating for a lot of them. So that's a very real reality of what's going on at the border. There are a lot of layers to this and a lot of frustrations for this as well. So we know as well that there has been a lot of conversations. Buenos dias. There's been a lot of conversations about gang members in this group. There are some MS-13 confirmed gang members in this group. there has been conversations that the municipal police in different cities will come in and kind of, good morning, buenos dias, that they will come in and kind of get those people out. Well, we have not seen that. We know that I'm literally sitting in dirt. That's great. Whatever, we're all gritty out here. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought a little bit. So when they get to the destination they can't cross, then what? Will they walk back? So realistically, they will likely be sent back to Tapachula. They will be deported. It depends. If they're on the Mexico side, it depends on what Mexico will do with them. Now, if they reach the U.S. border, depending on their claim, they would either be deported or they would either be deported or they would be apprehended. Wow, look at this view here. Let me just let you guys watch this for a little bit, because this is the morning hours. We are waking up here outside of Galeana. We are heading to Pijijiapan, still in the state of Chiapas. So the other thing, they're moving together in a caravan right now, but if they have, so this ambulance has been with us for days. It looks like they're transporting someone that might be sick. They've got people in there. Yeah, so likely a dehydration. Looks like a family. So, if they have criminal activity or criminal history, or they're a gang member or anything like that, while they're traveling with the caravan right now, when they get closer to the U.S. border, it would be very likely that they would part off and then, I hate the word penetrate, but go through the U.S. border, not in a self-surrendering way, not in a, hey, we're here, we are willing to be documented and apprehended so that we can continue our journey, given an NTA, which is a notice to appear, which gives them about 12 to 36 months before they have to see an immigration judge. And then there's also an NTR, which is a notice to return, and that will be about 30 days. So it just depends on the situation and what border agents, what they offer them. But when it comes to people with criminal activity, they're not going to be the ones that self-surrender. Those are going to be the ones that get smuggled in, that do the smuggling, those things. Buenos dias. Those kinds of things, right? Because they have criminal activity. So if they get apprehended, they're for sure going to jail. They're for sure going to be detained. Yeah, if you guys are watching, good morning. It's early, no matter where you are in the country of anywhere. If you are in the U.S. or in Mexico watching, it's early. And thank you for watching. If you want to share, what's in those semis? Y'all, no one, no humans, unless they're smuggling people illegally. They're not caravanners. You cannot transport them. That is very illegal. The semi-trucks, this is a highway. There's going to be buses, cars, taxis. This is a highway. This is people drive on. Semi-trucks transport goods. This is reality. I know you want to see the semi and say that's full of people. I know. But I'm showing you that's not true. They might have people, but they're not from the caravan. That's caravanners. See? Those people will hitch a ride. Again, that's not legal. So if the National Guard's over there or municipal police wanted to stop them, they absolutely could. But a lot of those people that are getting quote unquote hitching a ride, those folks are family units. They're getting a little bit of assistance because they're exhausted or they're in a wheelchair, things like that. So that's just human, right? I mean, that's what they're doing, and that's illegal, but what they're doing is illegal, right? So, yeah, it's hard to say what. Buenos dias, Jonathan. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Little kids. They were playing soccer in one of the towns that we were in. I believe it was Ulapa. And they came up and started talking to me. They're just very curious about what I'm doing, right? And I speak English, and they can hear that, and it's different. And so they're just so curious. A little girl, she owns my heart at this point. Her name is Stephanie, and she's 7, and she's from Honduras. And she just walks up and wants to look at my camera, and she walks up and she just says, Inglés. They're just fascinated. It's different for them. So then you say, yeah, you don't see the cops checking them. I know. What's really hard is they have this protection claim. So it's this really gray area, right? And they've got kids that are on the verge of death, of dehydration. We literally saw an 8-year-old girl from El Salvador named Maria who was bleeding from her gums. She was so dehydrated. Couldn't keep water down. She was throwing up. She had to get taken to the hospital, and we checked in with her dad later on that night, like in the evening hours, and he said she was starting to recover and doing a little bit better. So praise God. But the cops, everybody, has a shred of decency, right? They have to law and order first, but they cannot. They can, but they're not going to just let a woman die or a kid die out here. So if they're walking uphill and they're struggling profusely, the cops are kind of turning a little bit of a blind eye to some of those things because they are trying to be a little bit human. In the past, there's been a lot of aggression. Oh my gosh, here comes someone on a horse. This is obviously a local person. I want to ride the horse. Do you see there's someone on a horse? What? There's a person on a horse. It's got to be a local, yeah? Coming down to check out things. Okay. Good morning to you if you guys are just joining. I appreciate you. So then some people are asking about that $450,000. So that is a proposal. That is something that's being talked about. And so what's really, really unfortunate is when something is a proposal, sometimes, the word gets out about conversations being had. And, the real reality here is that that's likely not going to go anywhere. But the fact that they were even considering it has really frustrated a lot of people, and rightfully so. And that is, $450,000 was basically proposed to provide to illegal immigrant families, kind of per person, but there was a cap for how much would go to each family because of trauma that they endured and suffering that they endured being separated at the border from families back in 2018. So again, that's a proposal. To my knowledge, it has not gone anywhere, and it won't go anywhere. That has to get just proposed, in actual legislation and then voted on. And Democratic Party does monopolize basically Congress. So here we go. Good morning to you, caballero. Buenos dias. Good morning. Beautiful horse. Good morning. So, yeah, he's a local. Look at how it's just beautiful. Mexico is absolutely beautiful. It's stunning here. It really is. And a lot of people say that they want to, move to the U.S. to work. And I said, you guys got to understand something. It's all relative, right? Because I'm staying in a hotel that's $30 a night. And if you got that hotel in Seattle, it'd be $300 a night. And they're like, yeah. But we legitimately asked a Cuban family. We said, why did you, they went from Cuba to Brazil, and now they're trying to go to the U.S. And I said, well, why not stay in Brazil? Why wouldn't you stay there? Brazil's lovely. You weren't fleeing persecution from Brazil. And they said, well, they were not cared for. Their family was not cared for. They did not feel that they had an opportunity there. So we asked them, like, do you want, the benefits of the U.S.? Now, when we say benefits, we hear it as, oh, Medicare, welfare, la, la, la. But benefits to them is more like the promise of America, right? Which does include some of those things. We know that people that aren't citizens get benefits. We know that. We know that there are people that are homeless that aren't not U.S. citizens that have Washington state health care. I have seen it with my own eyes. So we know that that's a very real reality, and we know that system gets abused, and they know it as well. So I don't want to fully say, that is it, but that is a reality. They're not stupid. They have phones. They have, all of the things. So for our administration to say they don't know, they're living under a rock, they don't know what's going on, and to assume that every one of them is fleeing persecution, that's wrong. And that's sad, because that's making their countries look not good either. And some of their countries, some of them aren't, they have problems, but those are bold statements that come from our administration. Sorry, I'm just waking up still. Those are bold statements that come from our administration, and very, the blanket statements, right? And that's one of the issues. Is it shouldn't be a one size fits all approach, and it shouldn't be, oh, you're from this country, so that means this happened to you, because it didn't necessarily, right? It didn't, and so we don't have a process. And as our DHS secretary even admitted during the Del Rio crisis, the surge of Haitian migrants that we saw, he admitted outright that our immigration system is broken. That was over a month ago now. It was almost 2 months ago that the first wave of Haitian migrants crossed into Del Rio. There were 30,000 total from, I think, September 9th, okay? It's almost been 2 months. What has happened in the administration with immigration? Does anybody know? If anybody has any insight, because nothing has. The only thing that I can see that has happened is this $450,000 proposal. And when we say immigration reform, I say anything regarding immigration, the word immigration coming out of their mouth. $450,000 for families separated in 2018. That's a proposal. Again, I'm not saying that's a thing, but it's a proposal. The other thing is that Mayorkas put out a thing calling on the Border Patrol agents to assess situations more intently, to make sure they're not putting people in traumatic situations or causing trauma. Being apprehended or even encountered by a border agent could be considered trauma. So he all but tied their hands even more, right? So those are the immigration reform things that I have seen. So if anybody knows anything else about immigration that has happened in the administration since September 9th, I would love to hear. But if you even just look at since September 19th, basically, I believe that's around the time that Mayorkas made the statement saying that immigration, our system was broken. Nothing's happened. Even Irineo Mujica saying they don't know anything about what to do with immigration. It has been, and will continue to be until someone wants to fall on the sword and take the hit. It will continue to be a political football, and these people's lives will continue to be utilized in whatever capacity. But one thing is for certain: for over 40 years, illegal immigration has been an issue across the world, and for sure for the U.S. And no administration knows what to do with it. No administration knows how to handle it, and no administration wants to take that hit, because no matter what, you're going to isolate a party, no matter what you do, and that has implications and ramifications, right? So it would be nice for an administration on their way out that cannot get reelected to do something about it. Would have been nice for Obama on his way out to do something major about it, right? Because he didn't have implications. He couldn't be reelected. It didn't matter. But these people's lives continue to be used as a political football. 40 years. And that is a quote and a statement from sheriffs I've talked to in Del Rio, in Valverde County, in Brooks County. A political football. And it's broken, for sure. Word of mouth. The system is broken. Yes. Okay, so I'm reading through some comments here. No party wants to deal with it. And when the Biden administration, again, has all but campaigned. They all but campaigned on that open border policy. We all know that. Well, so do they, right? And then we say, but Kamala said don't come when she went to Guatemala. Biden said the borders are closed. But when you campaign on a national stage and people listen and people are encouraged, and then you see the problem get exacerbated, and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, and so you whisper, don't come. Half of these people are already on their journey. Half of these people have been on a journey for months. So how are you gonna reverse what you said? It's really, really tough. It's really tough. So there is a problem. There is a crisis at this juncture. We have women and kids. We had over 100 kids sick, dehydrated, and most of them have the idea that they're gonna get to go to the US. So to say, oh, they're not doing this because, the system isn't being perpetuated and more people aren't coming because of the opportunity, that's got to be a lie. That's got to be false. There's no way that's not happening. There's no way that there's not more children and more women in this caravan than ever before, because it is out there that women and children have a better opportunity of getting in. Those things are out there. There's no way to say that does not perpetuate a cycle of abuse. We know that these kinds of things happen in these caravans, and it's hard. Now, again, to be completely fair on both sides, some of these people have legitimate claims and are fighting for their lives and are desperate and are determined. But some of these people, they just want to go to the US for, quote, the American dream. It's a very real reality. And I wish our administration would just accept that. All administrations would accept that, because all of them do something ridiculous with immigration. I wish all of them would see the human side and see the ramifications of this worldwide, what kind of impact this has. So let's I will continue to answer some questions. Someone says it's their parents' fault. If you want to be mad at anybody, be mad at, administrations of all of these countries involved. We've got 20 nationalities represented. So, you've got a lot of countries involved. Be mad at the parents, because yes, they are making this choice to leave Tapachula. I don't know what their choice was to leave their country, but they were in Tapachula waiting papers and they didn't want to wait any longer. And then immigration came here and basically offered them, you guys can all stay here and work and live in Mexico, basically. And some people did not want that. And some people did not want to get on the bus because they don't trust immigration because of things that have happened in the past. So they did not want it. And so if everybody wasn't on for it, nobody got it. So they rejected the opportunity to stay and work and live in Mexico. And they're continuing on. So you say it is their parents' fault. They've had free will and a choice in this situation. It is not necessarily the choice they want. So this is what they're doing. But again, they, the West Africans that we've talked to, they're like, we will get in. They have to help us. We have legitimate claims. Mr. Biden, what they literally said is Mr. Biden will honor his promise of, if you have an asylum claim, a valid asylum claim, you will not be turned away. That is what the Nigerians and the man from Ghana are telling me. So they legitimately are pleading, like saying, okay, maybe the border's closed, but by the time we get there, he's going to honor his promise. He's a good man, is what they say. And that is legitimately what they're telling me. I can only report what they're saying. And I'm not going to report what just one person said, because that's right. But when you hear it time after time after time, and it's becoming a very real, the reality, I'm going to tell you about it. So, that is a thing. Now, I will tell you this as well. This is from one family, and this is the only family I've heard this from. The Cuban family, we asked, did it have anything to do with the timing? Would you have attempted this under the Trump administration? And they said it didn't matter. They would have attempted it no matter what, if a different president were in. So that is one family that I legitimately heard say that. One out of, I've talked to hundreds. So that's the situation as well. So again, we are outside of a municipal city, Galeana. We are a couple, probably at this point, probably 15 miles maybe from Apastepec. And we are heading to Pijijiapan. Wow. Some of these, they're tough ones for sure to say. And And so today, that's where they're set to stay. It's the next kind of municipal city. We know that some municipal governments have stepped in to help provide food, water, medical attention, things like that. Because again, like these are human beings, no matter how you look at it. And there are a lot of kids. More, I would say, I mean, we know half at least. There are so many women and kids. Half of this caravan is women and children. So these people aren't going to just say, sit out there and die. And that's absolutely awful. So they are stepping in, you know, on that human side for sure. So questions, let me know. I'm going to continue to live stream as long as I can. I'm going to actually turn this around and just kind of let you guys watch the sunrise a little bit. We are here in Mexico. I'm doing my best to answer and debunk anything. And I'm not even going to lie. When I first came down here, I was like, these people they've got to be being helped, right? Like that's that. That's because guess what? That is the only information that you guys are being told. And were they helped in the past? Yes. Will they be helped later? Most likely. But right now, in the southernmost point of Mexico, they are not. So they're heading to Mexico City. And then once they get to Mexico City, they will kind of disperse among the U.S. border. I don't know if they will go like strengthen numbers. We don't know any legitimate space that they will want to cross. Now people are asking, are they going to hit Del Rio again? Are they going to go through McAllen, La Jolla? I've used this analogy before. It's probably a little uncouth, but it's like robbing the same bank twice. They are they have their eyes very, very well glued to those areas, and they're very, very, very well staffed as far as law enforcement and things like that. They have definitely been more proactive instead of reactive this time, because they know that people are wanting to come to the U.S. So there are roughly 60,000 people still down in Tapachula. That is where these folks are coming from. As far as the Haitian population, most of them apparently are filing for asylum claims to stay in Tapachula. Carlos, one of the local journalists in Tapachula, was telling us that around 200 Haitians come in a day there. And so there are roughly 60,000 people that have that are down there that have filed for asylum, that are waiting for their documentation so that they can transit. So what's also really confusing, and I think a lot of people probably don't understand this because this is nothing like what I said, what it is like in the States. So down here, there are all these immigration checkpoints throughout the state, like throughout, you know, it's like going through a toll booth, basically. There are all these checkpoints. We really only have them. I mean, there are some obviously in Texas, like Highway 281, for example, that checkpoint. So they have to pass through all those checkpoints. So if they're down in Tapachula and they don't have their immigration papers, their documents, their Customs and Border Enforcement document, their immigration paper, right? Just the little thing that you have to, even if you get it when you travel abroad. If they don't have an immigration form, they will get detained at those checkpoints. So that's why they say they're being held like prisoner in Tapachula. The second that they leave, they're going to hit a checkpoint and they're going to get detained, or they're going to get sent back to their, sent back either to Tapachula or to their home country. And so that is a very real reality. The reason this caravan parted off from those 60,000 was because Irineo Mujica and Luis Villagrán put out a thing getting this caravan together via Facebook. Basically, you could sign up on a QR code. They had a protection claim. I'm sorry, Irineo and Luis didn't necessarily put the Facebook thing together, but they did advocate for the protection claim. The protection claim does allow them to transit basically freely. And so once they get to Mexico City, that judge will validate that claim and would allow them, their right to work, papers, things like that. And that's what they're advocating for. So that is what Irineo is advocating for. Now, he knows that a lot of folks want to continue on to the U.S. and he's like, I can't control that. I can't stop that. I told them I'm taking to Mexico City. So that is that situation. Okay, answering any questions you guys might have, trying to go through a little bit. I appreciate you guys being very respectful this morning. You guys are being lovely. If there are any derogatory comments towards me or insults towards me or people saying just rude things to me, you're going to get instantly blocked because I am not here for that. So there are 60,000 migrants down in Tapachula, for sure. Like there's a camp. They're scattered throughout Tapachula. They have filed for asylum. That is through the Commission of Refugees, Comar. They document that. So there were 90,000 at one point, 90,000 claims, and now officials believe that the 30,000 Haitian migrants that we saw were part of that 90,000, and that's why there's around 60,000 still there. That makes sense? I hope I'm breaking that down enough. That kind of thing. So here's another misconception. A lot of people have said you have to claim asylum in the first country you touch down in. The first country you flee persecution to, you have to claim asylum. That was a law under President Trump. That was overturned in an executive order very early on by President Biden. So you do not have to stay in the first country you land in. You can continue on and say that you want to make a better life in America, and you left Haiti a year ago because of an earthquake, and then go live and work in Chile and then file for asylum in the US. That's a thing. That's a thing. So that's why this is happening. One of the reasons why this is happening, right? That's just obviously a fact. I'm trying to be very unbiased, but that is a fact. And I hope you don't see when I'm talking about any administration as a bias. And that's what's really unfortunate in our society right now, is if you talk negatively on either side, that's where you land. And it's hard because we have to, as journalists, hold people accountable. That's my job, to call out what I see, right? And that's what I see. Like, that was very much overturned, that you don't have to claim asylum in the first place that you land. And so we know, I just talked to a Cuban family that was living and working in Brazil for years. We talked to Haitians that we saw that they were living and working in Peru, in Chile. We know that. I talked to them in Del Rio. They were. Now, were they persecuted there? No idea. That's where I'll leave it, because I can't judge that. I don't know. But they did continue on because the law was overturned. A lot of people say they are supposed to claim. I know, that was a thing. It's not anymore. So yeah, okay. And someone's saying bracelets. I have not seen a single bracelet on anybody since day one. So I don't know about those. I don't know if they get those later on. I don't know if that's something. None of these people have anything like that. They don't have their envelopes. They don't have anything. They are literally walking around with the clothes on their back, maybe a bag, maybe, something to lay on, and a stroller maybe. That's what this group is dealing with. Now, when they get to a legitimate NGO in Mexico City or whatever, and they get those forms that say help me, I don't speak English, you guys have seen those envelopes and those folders. Things are going to shift. Things are going to start changing. Right now we're at the base level. This is where it starts level. And the reason, people have asked, why are you down there? Why are you covering this? And it's because I didn't understand. The only part of this story I knew and could speak to was when they ended up on our side of the border. I didn't understand why they were going through it, what they were doing, how many people were involved, the elements that they go through, their mentality, nothing. I didn't understand the local impact of these communities, the law enforcement impact, all of that. So I don't think you can fairly tell a story and represent what's going on if you don't understand all of the aspects. And so this has been a completely eye-opening experience for me, and I hope it has kind of for you as well. So we're still sitting here waiting for the rest of the group. There is going to be a huge group coming around this corner in not too long. So we'll kind of hang out and let this play out a little bit. But, at one point, the Biden administration said they're sending everybody back when it was the Del Rio crisis. And here I am sitting on a plane with several of them going to Orlando, going to New Jersey, going to New York. One of them had a 5-day-old baby. She had the baby in Del Rio. We know that they weren't all being sent back. And so there's just a lot of things that the administration And I understand why you guys are having a hard time believing things. That's the one thing that we should be able to, you know, I think that the presidential podium, right? When the president steps up there and speaks, there's always been a lot of integrity in the past. And over the last couple of years, that's started to shift. And it's really unfortunate because who can you trust, you know? And you guys don't feel like you can trust the mainstream media. And I mean, there's even people that say they still don't believe that these people are walking. And here I am live streaming all day. Well, not all day because we don't have service everywhere, but we've been with them for 11 days straight. And so it's just really, really, to me, it's frightening for our future. And I posted about that because if you can't even believe the truth, what does that leave us? I mean, it's really difficult. It's extremely difficult. It's impossible. And unfortunately, that is, you know, propaganda. That's where the machine really kicks into high gear. So we've got to ask questions, you guys, and we've got to challenge each other. And the cancel culture really, really stopped that, because if you don't have the same opinion as someone else, you're not even having a conversation. And so my prayer for all of you this week, and my request, is to talk with someone this week that does not necessarily agree with you, and hear them. Accept that people have different opinions. You don't have to agree. Remember what we used to have conversations, and we used to have eye-opening and, you know, heart-changing conversations where we could understand each other. And now, if you don't agree, you're a bad guy or you're on the wrong side. We've got to soften our hearts and give each other a little more grace. And that's my prayer, and that's my soapbox moment for the day. But that's why I'm sharing every aspect of this, good, bad, and indifferent. The illegal side, the human side, all of it. Because my hope is that it might challenge you. And it might open up a conversation that you otherwise wouldn't have had. Okay, so someone said that bracelets are given at each point and then thrown away. What point are you speaking of? Because again, it's not happening down here. So I'm trying to figure out where that starts. I'll try to find out from Ireneo today if he knows anything about that. But the bracelets have to happen way more north then, because again, it's not happening down here. And when you say at each point, they're not giving out bracelets when we stop. They're not getting bracelets at checkpoints because they're not getting stopped. So I would like to know if you guys know anything else about that. Again, that's why I love these live feeds and stuff. You know, and someone said that's not challenging us. It's disgraceful. Come in legally. Again, Arlene, some of these people, by our law, not by my judgment or yours, by our congressional law, what our lawmakers, what the U.S. apparently voted in, they made a congressional law for asylum. So when I share the human side, that's what I mean. When I share the human side, kids didn't ask for this. That's what I mean. Okay? So that is what's happening. Someone's saying this is being shoved down our throat. I'm not sure if you're saying like watching this live feed, whatever, I don't know. But no one's forcing you to stay here and watch this either. If you don't like it, I'm independent. No one can fire me. I don't work for anybody. I'm not getting paid. If you don't like it, go away. I'm really not worried about it. I don't need ratings, y'all. I don't do that. I'm not on the TV. So I really don't care. Bracelets are from the cartels. Okay, so that'll be way more north. We haven't encountered any cartels down here yet. I'll ask him later, because again, I didn't deal with cartels in the US side, right? We don't have that situation over on the US side. So I'll ask Oscar about it in a minute. He's on his live feed too. You know, the only thing that you can do is if this is frustrating to you, contact your local lawmakers, contact your congressional leaders, and say a change has to be made. Something has to be made on either side. There are two sides to this, right? People are frustrated about the treatment and about the lack of opportunity or whatever they want to be frustrated about. And then people are frustrated about the legalities of it all. So whatever side you're compassionate about or passionate about, write to your congressman. For real. And, okay, Liz, you're getting blocked. I'm sorry. Stop encouraging these people. You're gone. Liz, everybody say bye to Liz. Bye-bye. Block. Aw, one less person to troll me. That's too bad. Okay. Yeah, and if you guys, are mad at the government, like I said, I'm not gonna say anything about that. That's your guys' job right now to write to your leaders. I can't because that means I'm biased. Pay attention to what has been said before you came. You mean like the bracelets and things like that? Like I said, I was covering this extensively since the beginning of August, basically, from the U.S. side. So learning about the bracelets when that has never made it over to the U.S., I'm sorry that I don't know about that. It doesn't change that this is happening, right? So if that is a disrespectful comment, let's chat about it. If it's not and it's just a comment, then you can stay. But thank you guys again for the continued support. We're watching, here comes that next group of people. Again, we still have thousands here that have walked over 70 miles in 10 days. We know that this caravan is half women and children. And a lot of people, you're going to see a lot of men come through in different waves because the women, a lot of them are further behind because they've got strollers, they've got kids, stuff like that. All right, let's go ask Oscar because you guys are really, really, really stuck on this bracelet thing. Just like you're stuck on, they look too clean. You guys just fixate on one thing. It doesn't change that this is happening. Oscar, can I ask you a question? People are talking about the bracelets that the cartels give. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because it doesn't make it over to the U.S. side, so I don't know a lot about it. And there's a level of ignorance for me, like I'm not even going to lie. So can we talk a little bit about that? Can you explain a little bit more about that to me?
That has been discovered by Ben Berquam and Anthony Agüero. There's some bracelets that the organized crime and the cartel are putting on the children, on the single women, on men. And right now they're putting the quantity that it is the value of them. Practically it is modern day slavery. They put the amount that is the cost of the children, a cost of a man, a cost of a woman. And then there's different colors, blue, I believe blue, light blue, it is for children. Blue, the other color blue, that is marine blue, it's kind of like that. It is for men. And there's other colors for women. So they use that to identify them and also to track them, and also to, when they move them, they know how much is the quantity of every person that they are going to charge.
So then why do they rip them off or cut them off or whatever they're saying?
When they are in the United States, that's when they are just free. They consider themselves free. They already
so they're not ripping them off. I mean, it doesn't do it. It's something that they use within Mexico. It doesn't do anything in the U.S., and that's why I don't know about it.
Identification. It's just identification.
People are just coming at me about it. And I'm like, it doesn't make it over to the U.S., and that makes sense because there's no reason for them to have it. Yeah. It's something that happens to them here that is utilized in their transit. And
it's in the borders.
Okay.
In the north border.
Okay. So there you go. Thank you, Oscar Blue.
Be aware on this side, or
because they're walking around.
Yes.
Okay. So you want me to stay right here?
If you want to go on that side.
Can I sit on? I'm gonna sit on the front of the car. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So got some answers, but again, I don't know. You guys are like, that's a huge deal. It is a big deal, but that doesn't change that this is happening. It doesn't change the facts. It doesn't change what happens in the U.S. Removed on the U.S. border, but by them, it's not, come on. Okay, I appreciate you, Carol. You're great. Thank you for your support. Victor's coming with the American flag. He's been walking with the American flag for a really long time. How you doing, Victor? Good morning. Good morning. Okay, I have to ask you something. Come here. Don't get mad at me. And if you don't want to answer, you don't have to because you're on live. Say hi. Say hi.
Hi, viewers.
A lot of people have taken a liking to you because you carry the American flag and you're proud of our country.
Okay.
But a lot of
status or you ask me for refugee status, and once you have the refugee status, you ask me for work permit. But the two at the same time, I'm gonna reject them.
Oh.
So I'm gonna reject them and tell your lawyer to do it all over again, he says. All right, and so that's how kind
So
of like
you didn't do
I got-
anything wrong.
Oh no, ma'am.
There was an issue with paperwork.
Never.
Okay, because you know when some stand here.
There, it's back. We're back.
Oh, okay, we're back. Sorry, you guys. I know some people dropped off. We're back with Victor. Okay, so Victor was explaining here that there were some paperwork issues, and that's why he was deported. And when you hear the word deported, you automatically think, okay, there's, criminal activity. Like that's a word, right? You automatically assume that. So now, can I ask you, other people were asking, did he have any gang affiliation like that in El Salvador, anything like that?
No, ma'am, not at all.
And did you have any criminal history in El Salvador?
No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, I'm carrying here my papers that they call it Solvencia de la Policía Nacional Civil from my country. That I don't have any record whatsoever. Like even in the States, I never have not even a misdemeanor nor a ticket for not driving because I was driving. I kind of like making my life. I even had like a girlfriend and had a car and everything. She used to lend me her car, because over there, how it is, right? So it's totally different than in other countries. So, so yeah, I was, but the first time, that's how the judge kind of like reject everything. They gave me self-deportation. So I went to Montreal.
Okay.
To Montreal, then I was in Montreal for 3 months, but it was too cold. It was back in '98, the first time. When it was like a real cold over there in Canada. I don't know if you remember, we were like around 47 degrees below zero. So I was like, no man, this is not for me. So I went back to the States. When I'm driving back to the States, because I paid like over there a guy for giving me like a car and facilitate me the way out.
Okay.
So I'm going back to the States, but I'm going back to the States. I had an accident because I kind of fall asleep. Entering like Chicago.
Okay.
I'm driving all the way from Montreal to like all the way like around for Chicago.
Okay.
Or Boston, something like that
Okay.
was it. So I kind of I was driving, I had an accident, and so I got caught again, and that's how we got deported.
Okay.
That's how I got it like the second time.
Okay.
And so time went by, then that's like around 98.
Okay.
Time went by, like around 2004, I went back again.
Okay.
I was there for 2 months because over there, back then I used to have someone who support me financially. So they pay a coyote and I moved all the way over there and that was everything was fine.
Wow.
But then I got caught working over there in South Dakota. I was working in roofing and sheet metal.
Okay.
I was working in that, and we got like a raid. They got like a immigration. It used to be the ICE. Back then it was ICE already.
Yes.
ICE was like immigration, custom enforcement.
Yeah.
Correct. So they caught us working over there in South Dakota, and so I went back again.
South Dakota. So have you been deported 3 times? So why? I mean, and now you're hoping for a pardon.
Yes, ma'am.
You haven't. So what you're saying is you haven't everything that's all illegal activity, right? Because you were deported for illegal activity, but you haven't done any criminal. You haven't
No, ma'am,
killed
never.
anyone,
No,
hurt
no,
anyone,
no,
domestic
no,
violence,
no.
stuff like that.
Never.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
But what you're doing is still illegal, and so a lot of people are frustrated, right? Like whether they like you or not, what you're doing is illegal, right? And it's like, can't you do it the legal way?
If I could, I would. I mean, if there was something I would do, if somebody will tell me, listen, go back to El Salvador, go to the U.S. Embassy, which is in Santa Elena, go to U.S. Embassy, do this, do that, I don't know, kind of follow the steps, I would go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Now, do you know, have you heard about what, I know that obviously Arizona and Texas are like the main borders that everyone's talking about kind of transporting to. Have you heard about what Texas is doing, what they've done at their borders? So since Del Rio, you know what happened in Del Rio, right? Where there were 30,000 people that like went into Del Rio, which is a border city.
I heard some.
So after that, the state was really proactive, and the governor has expanded what they call Operation Lone Star.
Okay.
And they now have their entire border manned with Texas State Patrol.
Okay.
And they say if you are caught crossing, you will be arrested for trespassing.
Okay.
Period. Not just
trespassing is that's like a
a crime, right? Like
it could be like a felony, right? Something like that.
So what does that change your mind? I know you said like maybe you'd stay in Mexico and work a little while to try to like gain some steam to maybe get back to the U.S. Knowing what I just told you, let's wait for this truck to go by a little bit. But I mean, does that have an impact? I mean, you're looking at me with these wild eyes, like, oh man, because You know, like
kind
you
of
want to
is-
abide by the law, but you've been breaking the law, so it's really hard. You have this like gray swing area, right, where you're like,
Right.
you're doing this. And a lot of people have said legally illegal, but illegal is illegal.
It's still right.
It's not. That's not right. It's not right.
Something's missing.
So knowing what I'm saying and saying you can get caught for trespassing, does that change your journey? Does it change your path? Does it change what you want?
It does in the sense that I'm afraid to go ahead and get caught and probably put back in jail or spend some time in jail and then go back to my country the same way I left, empty-handed, and that really affects me in the sense that I really wanna make I want to make money. I want to work because my mom is ill. My mom is probably living
she's in El
the last
Salvador?
days of her life. And I'm always thinking that I want to give her at least the last days of her life. I want her to be happy, you know. And so I want to work and give her the best I can give her. But then I don't want to go back to jail and it's like I've been spending my life all the time, you know. It's like all the time has to be something happen and then I end up empty-handed. I end up wrong. Sorry about that. Thank you, man. And so, what am I gonna do? You know, I'm over there in my country. It's like I'm dying because there's no. I was working in a cemetery picking up trash, making $225 a month.
Wow. Okay. In El Salvador.
In El Salvador.
Okay.
Yeah, and
what was your rent like? Like, how much did you have to pay for housing?
the house, my mom owns a house.
Okay.
So she says, no, niño, you know, estate aquí, nadie te va a estar molestando, esta es tu casita, you know, just stay here, no one's going to be bothering you, this is your house.
Okay.
So just pay the bills, you know. So I just have to be paying the bills and making
Yeah.
for food and such. But
The reality of all of this, so Victor, for you, is that your dream is to be in America because you love America, but it's not.
It's
just
easy.
it's just that you want it.
Exactly.
It's not that you're going to be murdered. It's not that you are going. It's just that you want a better life for you, your mom, and your 18-year-old son is in the States.
Yes, ma'am. So I want to see
But
him, yeah.
you know, we would all like to see you do this legally. You know,
Okay,
we
okay.
would all like to see you go through
Okay.
the process legally.
Okay.
I don't know what that looks like for you being deported 3 times, but you know, having a situation where you're doing this and you're in a group and this is all illegal, it's frustrating for Americans, right? Because we have had 1.5 million encounters this year. You know, and all of our law enforcement are saying we can't sustain this, man. We can't. So what are we supposed to do? I guess I can ask you that. What is America to do?
Just let me in. Just me.
Just one?
Just one.
But do you
No,
have
no,
any?
just-
Do you
just-
have any
just-
legitimate like? What can America do? I mean, our immigration system's broken. There's no doubt about that. What, you know, you obviously are adamant about being in the U.S. because you keep trying to go back. So what can America do to make this situation better? Because this is obviously problematic. Right? And you guys have that idea that we're going to be able to get in right now. I mean, right? There's kind of an...
That's what I thought. I mean, I thought I could go ahead and just present myself to immigration. If I could, I would, to present myself to immigration and then let them know, I mean, what's going on and see if they can let me stay there working, because I heard that there's a lot of needed of work. I mean, like I heard like how do you say it? Hay mucha gente muerto. Like a lot of people has died for the COVID, and so they need
Workforce.
Workforce.
They need labor.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so here I am, and so probably here there's a lot of people who probably is the same thinking. I know there's some few that definitely, you know, I wouldn't let him in myself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because I'm seeing what they're doing over here, and I mean, you don't want that
Yeah,
in the
we're going to
States,
talk
of
to
course.
you about some of that later then. You're going to have to give me some insight about what you're seeing behind closed doors in the caravan. We'll keep you safe. We'll keep your face off when we talk, okay? I'll get some info from you and keep you as an anonymous source. He's like, no.
I'm still
So-
want to give myself a life, man.
I know. And
no, it's hard.
again,
You know how hard it is for this.
Yeah.
Thank
again-
you very much.
and again, we'll let you
listen,
go.
thank you,
We'll
Mr.
talk
Oscar.
to you later.
Yes, and thank you guys
Okay?
for you, and God bless you. All right, and God bless America. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Victor. Okay, so you guys got some information from Victor. I tried to ask as many questions as possible. But, you know, he's been carrying that flag since day one. So Oscar's here. I'm going to kind of debrief you on what I learned from Victor. He's been deported 3 times. Never committed a crime, but those are all crimes, right? Like what he, but he's never hurt anybody, like stealing, stuff like that, according to him. But he, you know, he still wants to go. And I told him about what was happening at the Texas border with law enforcement. And he's like, it kind of changes my perception a little bit because I don't want to go to jail. You know, we've been talking about people kind of getting sold a bag of goods, like this false truth, you know, because they think one thing and think, like he just said, oh, I think we can get in, you know. And when you campaign on an open border policy and then you whisper, don't come in, they're not going to hear it, right? And so we've been talking to Victor for quite a while. So what do you think about the information I learned about all of that? 3 times, and he still thinks he can get a pardon and still get in. I said, Victor, everybody would like to see you do it legally. Like, why don't you do it legally? And he just doesn't even have like the capacity to understand what that process would look like for him being deported that many times.
I believe that clearly everybody makes mistakes in life. I have made mine. Victor has made his. And everybody deserves a chance to redeem themselves.
Before chances?
You know, everybody deserves a second chance. Look what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
I said. And, you know, he knows what he did. He knows the consequences. I learned something in life that they learned the word consequences, and consequences is a big factor. It carries a lot of weight. Consequences. Mm-hmm. He knows that. This is one of the reasons why he needs to understand that if there's no possibility, he needs to create a better outsource for his family. Mm-hmm. If he wants to go to the border and do it legally, the process, you can't deny that to nobody, right? You know, go and ask a pardon and go and try to get a chance. But ultimately, it is a reality. A lot of these people, that they know that there's no possibility of them obtaining a pardon immediately. The pardon takes
Someone said Oscar did it legally.
Well, that's a long explanation. But yeah, you know, we have done it the legal way. Everybody has done it the legal way.
Well,
and
everybody except for, I'm just kidding. I know. You guys also, as I interrupt this kind gentleman.
For everybody to
days.
understand, no hands driving. I have that ability after 11 days of exhaustion and dehydration.
That's now the superpower that he's
11
obtained.
days. No hands, people. No hands.
It's when you're going 2 miles an hour. So Oscar's been dealing with me now for 11 days. And for anybody who has ever met me, y'all know Oscar deserves a round of applause and a really big hug. It's a lot. But God put us together here, and you and Juan have been the only legit, I think, boots on the ground day in, day out since legitimate day one at the vigil. Fox wasn't at the vigil.
In English language, yes.
Yeah.
In English language, yes.
Yes, because there's other local.
Oh no, yeah.
Local people.
There's a lot of them that they're still, and you know, but they are not. I believe that Juan is one of them. Juan Carlos is another one. There's like 3 Juans.
Juan Blanco, Juan Carlos.
There's a lot of Juans, one by one. But, you know, we have earned, I earned my respect since the last time that I walked with the caravan from Haiti. You have earned your respect this time from the journalists from here, from Tapachula.
Me?
Yeah. They respect you now because it's not easy to do this. It's really not. It's stressful. A lot of people say, why talking on the... I'm a broadcaster. I've worked in radio for quite some time. Talking is one of the things that we have an ability. Ali has an ability to be talking. But...
Everyone's like, thumbs up.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. is not only exhaustion for as you know, physical exhaustion. It's emotional exhaustion.
I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah, it drains you. You take all this energy that is happening outside. You see all the children, and there's always the comments that is the parents. We know that. We know that. There's always the comments that stop them, tell them not to come. You know, why you're not telling them, you're aiding and abetting them. We are reporters. We're here to document the situation. I'm not a patrol officer.
We also can't do that because it's super unsafe. Like, can you imagine 5,000 people? You telling them like, go back.
It's not.
We won't be here to report anymore, y'all.
It's just really incompetent comments. I call them out in my life. That is a really incompetent comment. Like, where is your mind? Where it's really easy to be sitting down right now in American soil and be typing from your home and be typing really incompetent comments. That's why I always say, like, you know, watch, learn, see what is happening. This is a problem that is not the problem of the United States, to the United States people. But it's a problem that the Biden administration is responsible for. Mexico also. All the governments.
They're all complicit, right? Because you've got El Salvador, Honduras, they're all getting funding. So why are they fleeing their countries?
Exactly. The United States has given so much money. We have explained this too many times.
Yeah.
Even talking to Irineo, Irineo understands. Irineo, the leader of the caravan, he understands, yes, he says, I have a problem with the Democrats. This is the leader of the caravan. Irineo Mujica says, I do not agree with the Democrats that they give money. They give money just stupidly.
It's not allocated correctly.
It's not putting correctly. It's exactly what's happening right now. They want to give out all these bills, pass all this money. And even the leader of the caravan, and this is what triggers leftists, and you know, I don't care about liberals, but this is what triggers leftists and liberals, that same people that they're advocating for, or the left or whatever, they feel like trigger, oh my God, you're talking about us, and how could you, like a Mexican, brown Mexican, advocating for legal migration, oh, you're against your people, you're against this. It's not against that, it's just what it is. This is what it is. And also, right-wing people, be honest with you, a lot of them, they exaggerate what is really happening. And I catch a little bit of heat for that, because a lot of the right wing that I have on my audience, it is a lot, I told you guys from the start since 2017, and you guys remember, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a right wing or a left wing. If you guys want to hang out with me and you're right wing, all right, I'll treat you with respect. Left wing, exactly the same. But you have to understand that when reality is, and factual evidence of reporting, it doesn't have a political party. This does not have a political party.
They're humans.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I mean, you've been saying like it's changed your heart a little bit. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Seeing all this? Tell me how it's seeing this and living in this for 11 days.
When I started 4 years ago, I was a little rough on the edges. Consider myself a nationalist from Mexico, but nationalists in the United States, they label people as racist. You told me something that is really accurate, Ali, that in the United States, the labeling is really...
We have an obsession with categorizing things and people, and everything has to fit in a box and in a category and has to be labeled. And if it doesn't, then it frustrates people, which is why people constantly are trying to figure out, what side are you on? What side are you on? I'm like, humans.
I am
God,
still,
like literally, all I wear, what would Jesus do bracelet. Like, I just care about the truth, and I care about people and holding people accountable. You just heard me talking to Victor, and I like made him cry. I mean, I'm literally pushing him to the brink, saying, well, what are you doing? Why are you're gonna get arrested. You know, I mean, like, those are really hard things to have conversations with people.
Well, he has
but
this dream, you know, and he
know.
prays to God, and he has this illusion in this dream, you know.
So keep talking about your perception of this.
I'm always going to be a guy that is for legal migration, and always for the best for all people. I have always said,
especially children.
I have always said, immigration is a right. Your right to migrate. and everybody deserves to immigrate to a better country to have a better life legally. There's a process, there's a law, and there is a way, and you have to do it that way. I have always said, and I stand with what I say since I started, I am against caravans because caravans are not the solution to migrate. This right here, do you think that this is a solution? Seeing kids dehydrate, seeing kids on high fever, seeing women that they're hurting their feet, seeing men that also they're just risking their lives. This exposed to trafficking at the borders, exposed to coyotes, exposed to trafficking of drugs, exposed to dangers. This is not a correct way to migrate. This is not correct. And it is all pushed by these globalist organizations that they do not care about people. You don't see them right here providing food. You just saw on my live feed, people are asking me for water. The only resource, Allie, the number one resource for survival.
And they're drinking Coke every day. They can't even hydrate because
No.
Coke is easier to find than water. It's insane.
They don't have that level also of understanding that Coke will dehydrate instead of hydrate. So it is just, it has opened this caravan. The last one with the people from Haiti broke my heart watching a little child, and everybody's like, Oscar, you're aiding and abetting. I'm not aiding and abetting. You're not here. You're not walking. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. You're seeing it from a phone, and it is my job to educate until my capacities and my capabilities, well, what I can do. But you're not feeling it. I'm right here, and I invite you to go to the border and watch what is happening. Ben has told you guys, come to the border and watch what is happening. Go to the border yourself and really watch what is happening and understand what is happening. If you're far away from
but
it,
here's
you
the
know.
other thing that we've talked about. When you get to the border, because when I covered the Haitian crisis, you don't have access to have conversations with these people and know what they're doing, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? Because that's the other thing. Even if they go to the border, they're going to... Oh, there we go. Here, we're back. We're back. Yay. Okay. So we were just talking, you guys. We were talking about